So, how do you talk to your child about consent?
Ooh.
I'm here with JD, aka Jen Devine from superstarhealtheducation.com, and I'm Cathy Ortuli from the intimacydojo.com. And JD talks to children all the time about these kinds of topics. And I love that you go out there and especially in the Bay Area, you're able to talk about these things. And it's so important because I remember when we were kids, there was nothing about boundaries. My mom pretty much wanted us to not fight. So, like, I'm not touching you is perfectly legitimate. And there was no, like, no,
this is my bubble of space.
Yeah, there was no, like, actual, this is my body, you should not touch it or annoy it. And so I love that you talk about consent.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so many things.
Yeah.
So for younger kids, I often am working with, like, 4th and 5th graders is where I spend a lot of my time doing puberty classes. But I also I do classes for kindergarten, 1st grade, middle school, high school, and grown-ups, too. So, consent. Often that word might be not in the vocabulary of children. Mm-hmm. So having an alternate word, talking about permission, or being able to ask and being able to say no. So putting it into really simple, concrete words for children. And helping them understand that at a certain point, and that point changes with different children, your body is your own body. Mm-hmm. And you get to decide who touches you. Now, I also want to put the caveat in there that people with disabilities who also have assistance or may need support people often are challenged by body autonomy when they have that need of support with their bodies. So I want to not leave those folks out because sometimes those boundaries can also be challenging to navigate when you've got another person who's also responsible for your body.
Well, I can just imagine that it's a whole thing.
But it's not a side. It's important not to leave people with disabilities out.
Any child, like, has to go get shots or whatever. There's, like, times when they don't have autonomy. And then if someone needs more care, there's certainly sometimes less ability there.
And when a person is a little person, very little person, of course, your body is taken care of by the grown-ups in your life, hopefully in a loving and respectful, boundaried way as well. But at a certain point, the body becomes your responsibility, and you get to decide who touches you. And even in the simplest of ways, like, leaning against you while I'm at the lunch table. For a person might have been putting it up with it for 3 years and not really liked it. Mm-hmm. Or your auntie who comes over and always wants to grab your face and give you that big hug, and you're just expected to endure it. Mm-hmm. And children
kiss Uncle Bob, he'll hurt his feelings
creepy
if you
Uncle Bob or whatever. Like,
I have an amazing Uncle Bob, so if you ever watch this,
and
I love you.
My dad's name's Bob, and he's awesome. But even those things where children are expected to give up their bodily autonomy, I think is a place where I hope parents can start saying, actually, you get to decide if you want Auntie to touch you in that way. And you can say, thanks, Auntie, but it's really nice to see you. And to give them alternate ways to interact or ways to say they don't want their body touched. And that's especially important as people become in puberty time, when hormones are moving and body's urges for touch. I mean, remember, puberty's about reproduction. They want to touch genital stuff. That's, like, kind of natural. That's what nature does. Bodies at that time also have urges for intimacy and touch, too. And how to have those things honored and that respect kids and their bodily autonomy without making it negative or shameful that they enjoy things like pleasure and skin hunger, which is a real thing. Like, people
need to be
wanting
touched
to be touched. So for little kids, it's always like finding the vocabulary that they can then understand and learn how to verbalize or use their body language to say no to things and say yes to things. Because a yes to something is what we want more of in the world, but it's not genuine if you have no. If you have no ability to say no thanks.
Yeah. So. And I think one of the things, I run cuddle parties, which are...
I went to my first cuddle party last week.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
Yes.
I love the ability to practice. And I grew up, I really didn't have a lot of boundaries. At 30-something, I was going on dates and leaning away, hoping that the person would get that I didn't want to be pawed. Just because most of us are not raised with consent. And I think one of the best ways a parent could show that is by role modeling it, knowing boundaries themselves. It's one thing to say, oh, you get to say no, but if you never say no yourself or you never allow the child to say no to you, they're not going to have the muscles built up to say it to a friend.
Right. And even when they have the muscles built up, adults are socialized to not say no.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for people to say no, and that also runs often along gender lines.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's harder for people of certain socialized genders, i.e., female person. In my case, a cisgendered person who's raised generally female, although I rejected that for a period of time. It's hard to say no to things, but it's really awesome to say no to things. It feels really good. And to have, when somebody says no, to say, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That you're willing to trust me with the truth.
It's
and,
not
and
anything's
share,
wrong with
yeah,
me. It's
yeah.
just that oh, wow, I can
You
totally
don't-
relate
yeah.
to you
don't
needing
wanna
to
hug
take
right
care
now?
of yourself.
Okay, yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I think role modeling it for them as they grow up, and it's really people always say do as I say, not as I do, but that doesn't work.
Yeah, and for kids also offering them that choice, a genuine choice.
Yeah.
Would you like a hug today? Because this morning I didn't need a hug, so I'm asking if you would like one or not.
Mm-hmm.
And like giving them the real sense that you actually expect a genuine answer with yes or no, or maybe. I'd like a 2-second hug, or I just want to, whatever.
I want to hug.
I want to
I
high
changed
five
my mind.
instead.
Or,
Exactly.
Yeah, I work with clients all the time that just don't know what they want because they've never been given the option. They've always had to do what other people said, and so they're like, I don't even know what I want. So if you give someone genuine options, like, would you like a hug, and let them learn to check in with themselves, that's really powerful. You're giving them an inner guidance so they can go forward with later, not just going at the whim of whatever anybody pushes them.
And I think also children also especially are taught to try to please because they want to be liked and loved. So people's ability to actually give a genuine yes or no to things can also be usurped when the desire to please is too present in the forefront rather than actually checking in with their own body. So with older kids, you can do a little bit more like, okay, what does it feel like inside you when you say yes or no to things? What are you checking in with yourself?
How does it feel in your body?
So are you just trying to eagerly please and get some feedback, or are you like, wait, do I have an awesome feeling in my gut that's butterfly-y and wonderful, or do I have a clenchy tight thing going on that feels like my gut says back off? So helping people learn to somatically tune into their own senses that tell them information.
One of the things we recommend in our Thriving Now is a business I also have. We talk about imagine something you really hate eating. Imagine eating it and notice how your body feels. And then imagine something you love eating and notice how your body feels. Imagine hugging someone you hate hugging. Notice what your body feels like. Imagine hugging someone you adore. And then imagine, notice your body. And then also imagine hugging someone you're not sure of. That may be kind of feeling. Just you calibrate your body that way. And it's really powerful.
That sounds like a cool exercise that could maybe translate into a classroom activity in some way. Thanks for that cool idea.
Sure.
I like that.
Yeah. So we'd love to know what questions and concerns or thoughts you have ideas on teaching kids consent. I think it's such a gift to give them if they can go forward, and if they have brakes in their car as they leave the nest. That's an incredibly powerful thing to give them. So please leave comments below.
Okay, awesome.